Welcome, I'm Matt from Jaggers Brewing Co. Today I wanted to talk to you about some of the upgrades that we've incorporated here at the Homestead Homebrewery, whatever you want to call it. So we've been fortunate enough in the last several months to be able to get a few things incorporated here or fixing to kick off with or whatever. And it's everything between this, ginormous 20-gallon kettle that I got new, this beer gun for being able to package beers for competitions to send off to some family and friends, to a pretty awesome stainless steel conical that was given to me from a subscriber and viewer, and their stipulation on that was that they wanted to remain anonymous, but they also wanted an honest opinion and review from another homebrewer. So thank you so much for for the gracious gift and the ability to be able to do that. That's pretty awesome. But having said that, also thank you so much for just even like believing in me that I can offer that kind of advice, because at the end of the day, I'm just like most of you guys. I'm just a homebrewer still trying to figure it out. But so basically I wanted to incorporate some changes, right? And so if you go back and you look at the video for last year's homebrew competition scores and whatnot, I think things like packaging kind of affected some of those scores, and it gets kind of tiresome and hard to keep track of if you bottle condition everything, especially at the quantity and frequency that I brew. It's just easier to keg majority of them and be able to share off of the keg, fill growlers that way or whatever. And sometimes you need that like long cooling storage to lager or help condition beers. So that's where this beer gun's going to come into effect. I think I've done a couple bottle fills off of it. I'm gonna say I kind of regret not getting this pretty much as soon as I started kegging. I kind of switched over mostly to that being my primary source of beer storage was kegging last year, and I've done a few batches to where I've bottled conditioned them when it's more of like style appropriate, or I just don't have the space and the keezer and the amount of kegs needed to be able to handle that. So I know that there's like some improvements that I need to do, like really dialing this thing in. I think that it was pretty user-friendly straight out of the box. There was one issue that I had when I was bottling a few entries on a specific beer. That was the rebrew for the Rogan beer, and for that one I had a problem. It was basically over carbonated in the keg, so I had been trying to bleed off some of that carbonation and then bring it back up, but it was still a little over carbonated. So I got a decent bottle fill out of it, but it was just a little low, especially for like what you want to send in for competition. So we'll see how that affects me on the scores. I don't see it being too big of a problem, but we'll see. But the cool thing is the little trigger here for this, and that's to be able to put CO2 in the bottle, and then you pull this trigger here to fill the bottle. Beer comes in this tube here, and CO2 flows through here. So the way that I had set it up was to basically I used my remote CO2 bottle on the side of the keg or the keezer, and then kind of just tied everything in there, bypassing the way that I would normally run my keezer out of the tap. I kind of kept going back and forth between this and you know, like the counter pressure flow bottle fillers and a few other different deals. I settled on this for now. I'm happy with it. I might try some of the other systems. I will tell you that using this setup and this system, I kind of feel like it's almost better if you have a second hand, so that way as you're filling up, you get done, especially if you're doing quite a few of them, to have that second hand there to cap for you. The next upgrade that I wanted to talk about that I'm pretty excited for, and I haven't done it yet, but I still need to break in this bad boy here. So this is the Anvil 20-gallon kettle. I'm planning on using it a lot like I do with my 10-gallon one for my 5-gallon batches. So I'm shooting for 10-gallon batches. I'm sure I could probably push out, you know, like 15 gallons if I do everything right, or like really high gravity 5-gallon, 7.5 gallon batches out of this thing. So I'm at a crossroads on this thing when I break it in. So part of me really knows that I should completely test it, right? Do boil off rates and all that. But the impatient person in me is like, no, you really shouldn't. We can run a test by doing a smash beer, right? Or like a blonde or something simple, something that's not going to be that expensive, right? But then the even more impatient part of me is like, it'll be fine, just roll with it. So I'm at a crossroads because I really want to do a huge big beer out of it, be it a 5-gallon batch or a 10-gallon batch beer, you know, something in that like barley wine type of gravities, you know, something that's really starting off with a starting gravity of, you know, like 1.1 or thereabouts, and really get this thing rocking and rolling. You know, it's going to be a lot of grain, and so I had a couple projects in that my other Anvil kettle where I was like thinking of like substituting in some you know, like liquid malt extract or dry malt extract to really kind of bump up that OG. But now that I got this thing, I really don't think that I need to worry about that unless I'm really trying to incorporate some kind of taste that I don't think that I can mimic out of an all grain setup, or I really go crazy and try to start off with like a, you know, a 1.3 or 1.45 type beer, but that would be crazy, and who knows where I'll end up going with it. So I'm at that crossroads. I really haven't made a decision, but I'm really starting to pull towards, you know, doing a simple beer with it and running my measurements and all that out of it. But it's really tempting for me to start off with that huge, great big beer that I have planned eventually for this kettle anyways, to not make it my first brew. But so we'll let my indecisiveness cook for a little bit more before I really get going on this project. I liked my other kettle so much that I had to get this one. I plan on using it, brewing the bag same way. You know, the single best upgrade for this kettle that I believe is the kettle strainer. I use it on my other kettle. I'm fixing to get another one for this thing, and then a big brew bag for it. But I feel like having something like this big really opens a bunch of doors to even run it with my 10-gallon kettle. You know, use this for a mash tun to go into that. So we'll see kind of all the kind of crazy things that I can do that with this thing. I mean, I think the limits are basically my imagination at that point, and I can imagine some shit, you know. And one of the coolest last upgrades that I really want to talk about is that stainless steel conical. So for my temperature controlled fermentation, I have that whole like hot system that I use for cognac and kettle souring, and then I have that cool fermentation setup that I constructed with you know, the all-rounder and my old cooler and a pond pump and some hoses and all that. So what I've done basically is now I've doubled the amount of cool fermentation that I can do, so I can have 2 cooler fermentations going. And that was a goal of mine this year, was to really try to hone in and buckle down and do temperature control fermentations. The only thing is that would slow down the amount of brews that I get to do a year. Now I've kind of come back to where I can have 2 going at the same time. And so what I was able to do was I had a pre-prohibition lager going and the Bohemian Pilsner going at the same time, you know, both lagers. So that was pretty cool to be able to have those going at the same time. Be able to cold crash and have cooler fermentations with those. And then now I've gone back and I've rebrewed some of the beers that have done good for me in my local and you know, like state competitions. You know, I'm focused on the Lone Star circuit, and I'm a member of the Master Homebrew program. So I'm trying to increase those scores on things that I've done. So I won a medal at the beginning of the year with my Rogan beer. I took some of those notes, and it seemed like temperature fermentation was one of those things that I really needed to focus on. And so I've used these setups, right, for my cool fermentation to be able to have 2 going at the same time. And so it was pretty awesome to be able to have my Kentucky Common and my Rogan beer going at the same time. And I've got a few different things going on now that I can brew on a Saturday, brew on a Sunday, you know, and kick those pumps on, bring down those temperatures after I've chilled the wort to as cool as I can get it down to pinching temperature with this setup, and you know, get going on fermentation sooner, and hopefully have those cleaner, crisper, brighter beers as a result of it. And so as I've started to put some of these beers in from late last year to right now, I think I'm producing some of the best beers that I've ever produced. Not that, you know, some of them were bad, it's just we're getting better. We're really honing in those skills and stuff. You know, I know that now we're incorporating a lot more techniques and stuff like that we didn't have at the beginning of the channel. You know, I haven't quite sworn off no chill, and I haven't quite sworn off, you know, raw ales and things like that. But I've really been trying to like hone in on those BJCP guidelines and stuff to be able to advance, you know, in these competitions, and be able to advance through the Master Homebrew program. So and I think that all these tools here will kind of help. Unfortunately, I don't have the fermenter sitting next to me for this video. It's busy at work right now. It has a American wheat ale in it, so just stay tuned for the individual review on that fermenter, my thoughts on it, some things that I want to do to kind of improve it, and also hopefully improve the output that I get on the input of that. You know, if you have a feeling of which way I should head with my first project out of this thing, let me know in the comments. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please take the opportunity to do so. Your support means so much to me. It's pretty cool to see this thing grow and get going. Thank you for every one of you that have stood by me from day one that you have found me, come and hung out with me on the live streams, met up with me on the other live streams and comments on other channels. It's fun seeing a lot of you friendly faces and receiving messages, you know, on the Instagram, and having, you know, you guys follow me there and everything. But again, thank you guys so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Cheers till next time. Kind of like the tongue type of deal, where if you don't like that, the world might explode, you know, like the tongues when you're grilling or whatever. All right,